It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant. I am here with someone who I have been looking for in my search for better sex in 2026. Not just for me, but for all of my listeners and everyone in general. I am on a mission, and that mission has taken me to Promescent, and I'm excited to welcome CEO Jeff Abraham to the Kink Consultant Podcast. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
I don't even know where to start, because once I found out about Promescent, I was like, this is someone I need to talk to, simply because as a kink coach for men, I talk to men about sexual performance, ED, premature ejaculation, and better sex overall. Not just selfishly for myself, which I'm also looking in for. So I know you have some things for men and women, but how did your journey start? How did you decide Promescent and sexual wellness was your journey?
I might have the most circuitous route ever taken to be the CEO of a sexual wellness company. I owned a semiconductor engineering business, and I was very fortunate. Got into it when I was really young, right out of college, and I formed my own company when I was about 30, and it was wildly successful, and I sold the company, retired in my mid-50s. It just so happened my next-door neighbor was a chief of urology at Hoag Hospital, Newport Beach. He specializes in sexual medicine. And one day I was in for my yearly PSA physical, that kind of thing, because he was my doctor as well as my friend and my neighbor. And I went in, and one thing led to another. He goes, hey, I developed this new product, and I know your history because I was born very, say, middle class, slightly below middle class kind of thing, and achieved quite a bit of success. And he goes, I know your history, and I think you're really smart business-wise. I developed this product. Can you help out? And one thing led to another. It was Promescent. At that point, the only product was delay spray. I was curious, and I asked for a sample of it, and I thought he was going to write me a prescription. It turns out it was over the counter. And so I tried it, and I went, oh, my God. And I went, this stuff is fantastic. Because one of the things that I will tell you that most people aren't aware of is stepping outside of the realm of premature ejaculation. Talk about the normal, healthy adult male, the normal, healthy adult female. The normal male lasts 5 minutes and 42 seconds during penetration and thrusting. The average female takes about 18 minutes of penetration and thrusting to achieve climax. There's a term for it that a lot of urologists and therapists actually call the arousal gap. That's why there's 7 trillion vibrators in the world. That's why guys stop and start and think about baseball scores. That's why they're all blanks. That's why so many guys go, I'm the master of cunnilingus. There are so many things that couples are just conditioned to do to bring the woman closer prior to the onset of intercourse, just so they make it with a higher probability of both sides climaxing.
We're so goal-oriented instead of solutions-focused.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. But I want to make one thing perfectly clear. No one should ever think that sex is not satisfactory unless both partners climax during intercourse, okay? Because there are some women that don't climax during intercourse because there's sometimes not direct stimulation on the clitoris. Put it this way, if both people achieve climax, or for that matter, achieve satisfaction at the end of a session of intimacy, then everyone's satisfied and everyone is happy. But it's a powerful situation when you both have simultaneous climax or during the same thing. A lot of people say that's probably the most satisfying part of intimacy, is if both people achieve climax around the same point in time. So this is not just for someone who has severe clinical PE. Most people can benefit by a longer time frame and a longer duration of intercourse. So it became fascinating to me, especially when I realized how prevalent even regular premature ejaculation was, in addition to the people who just want to use something to have better intimacy. So there was obviously a huge market.
I think there's a huge market because everyone, in my experience alone, wants to have better sex. We want to have better connection, more fun, and sex is fun, with each other. And anything that can help that is worth trying, at least.
Absolutely. I'll bet you that 70% of our customers that use Promescent delay spray don't have premature ejaculation. They don't. They just want a higher level of intimacy. They want better sex. That's why one of our taglines is better in bed. And this is one thing I will tell you. Any man that tells you that at some point in his life he hasn't been fully aware that he was ready to climax, but his partner hadn't climaxed yet is lying. You're just flat out lying, okay? It happens a lot. And I tell people there's the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder. One's going, oh my God, this feels good. Just finish, get that feeling. The other side's, no, wait. Her pleasure's just as important. And that leads to anxiety. Anytime you're in a situation that you want to experience pleasure, but part of you's going, no, don't, it's not right, don't, yet that creates anxiety. And anxiety and intimacy are two completely separate feelings, and they should not mix, because anxiety ruins intimacy, being uptight, being anxious, and everything else. So that's why we tell people, and that's why so many of our customers, because we're very interactive. We sell quite a bit of our product through our website. So it's one of those situations that I reach out and I talk to people all the time. Hey, really glad you're using our product. I saw you bought the delay spray for, 3 solid years. Now you're using some of our toys and some of our lubes and female arousal gels. And how'd you first find us? Because it's really curious. I want to know people's journeys, how they find us. And they'll go, I didn't even think I had PE, but I heard you on this podcast, or I saw an ad, or blah, blah, blah. So I'm really fascinated by that. And like I said, it's amazing to me that 70% of people using our delay spray don't have clinical premature ejaculation, or something the medical community would define as premature ejaculation.
What does the medical community define as premature ejaculation?
You're going to follow around laughing when I tell you this. The medical community defines premature ejaculation if you never last more than 90 seconds ever, whether it's oral, whether it's anal, whether it's, vaginal, whether it's oral sex. I'm like, wait a second. You're telling me that if I last 91 seconds, I don't consider to have premature ejaculation? Because we have an advisory board of many of the top urologists. In fact, some of them are on the boards of AUA, American Urological Association, SMSNA, and ISSM, which is International Society of Sexual Medicine, and Sexual Medicine Society of North America. We've been working with them to change those definitions. Instead of putting a specific time, to say that if your sex life would be improved by having a longer duration of intercourse, then maybe you should be viewed as someone who has premature ejaculation and would like something to augment or supplement that. Because I shudder to think that someone goes in to see a urologist, especially someone who doesn't specialize in sexual medicine, because the majority of urologists don't specialize in sexual medicine, and someone says, oh, I think I have an issue, and the doctor says, how long do you last? And they go 2 minutes, and the guy goes, oh, no, you don't.
You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. You're great. You're the biggest stud that ever walked planet Earth, that kind of thing. So I think that there needs to be a heightened awareness that let's make it more subjective, that if your intimacy would be enhanced and you and your partner's pleasure would be enhanced by a longer time during penetration and thrusting, then you might fall into a category that a urologist or a doctor would say to you, yeah, there are options out there. And it was interesting because when you talk about my journey, when I first became aware of Promescent and PE, because I was in that category where I would last 10 to 12 minutes and it seemed like, okay, everything's good. But I was aware on certain instances with certain relationships I had where it was like, okay, she hasn't climaxed yet, not yet, that kind of thing. So as I became more involved with the company and then eventually invested in it and took the company over, it became clear to me that we had to change that message.
Yeah.
Enhanced intimacy, better intimacy, and get away from premature ejaculation and get away from the idea that there was a medical condition, to just basically talk about, are you happy with your intimacy? Do you feel fulfilled? Is your partner satisfied? So we've been at the forefront of changing that definition and changing the way people view premature ejaculation and how to properly frame it and how to make people feel like you're not alone. Because so many times people feel like, oh, it's only me, I'm deficient. And it's no fault, but it's kind of sad that it's become the butt of jokes, comedians during monologues, and there's all these memes about guys not lasting long enough. And there's all these old wives' tales out there that are really kind of sad because there's a certain segment of the population that believes if you don't last long enough, it's because you don't want to satisfy your partner, you're selfish. There could be nothing further from the truth. We talk to people all day, every day that face this issue, and I can tell you this, there's nothing more they would like in life than to last a lot longer and sex. It's not selfishness. And there's also these feelings out there that it's in your head. You're just not strong enough mentally to last long enough. There's probably 20% of the etiology of the premature or rapid ejaculation is maybe a psychological component. But there's 80% of people that have physical limitations. And it could be hypersensitivity to penile nerves, low testosterone, prostatitis. There's many issues physically that can cause you rapid or premature ejaculation. And let's make sure we understand that no one feels like they don't last long enough because they don't care about their partner. They're not mentally strong enough to last long enough, those types of things. So this has been a real journey in terms of educating people, in terms of getting people to understand you're not alone. This is a very common problem. I don't understand why, but there's still a stigma from a lot of men and women that if you use products to enhance your sexuality, that means you're less than or you're deficient. One of the things that I like to tell people is because there's so many physiological issues that can cause rapid or premature ejaculation, does anyone ever look down upon a diabetic for taking insulin? Does anyone ever look at someone with cancer and go, oh, you're taking chemo, you're weak mentally? What? That's insane. So why, if you use a product like Promescent to enhance your intimacy, would there be any stigma or shame around it? You could have prostatitis, you could have low testosterone, you could have hypersensitivity to penile nerves. And we also know that certain ethnicities have a much higher degree of premature ejaculation. In dealing with people in the medical community, there's this nature versus nurture debate. Because one of the things that people used to use to treat rapid or premature ejaculation prior to Promescent were SSRIs. Now, people like me that aren't medical, when you first hear that, you go, what's an SSRI? Then someone goes, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. You go, I still don't know what that is. They're the depression drugs, Paxil, Prozac, Zoloft. They will allow you to last longer. Unfortunately, there's dry mouth, nausea, loss of libido, suicidal thoughts. Yeah. So you're actually creating more problems than you're solving by using those products.
Yeah, I mean, loss of libido is such a common one that as soon as I hear SSRI or antidepressant, I'm like, how's your drive?
Right, yes, exactly. You think you're depressed now, wait until you take this, okay, and you have absolutely no sex drive. I've always had a very active libido. So when I took over this company, it's very important to me that, number one, I made a huge financial investment as well as time. I came out of retirement. I retired. And so I wanted to really see how effective the product was. But more importantly, I had to be very aware of how this product stacks up against its competition. So I tried Stud 100, I tried Dynamo Delay, all these other products out there. And I tell people that literally you could have dropped a cinder block on my penis and I would have felt it. I felt like I was watching a movie of me having sex with somebody. I knew that I was being intimate with my partner, but I could not feel anything. It numbed her, and we don't do that. And that's one of the biggest advantages of Promescent. It doesn't have that numbing effect on both you, and it doesn't transfer to your partner. I was thinking to myself, you're solving one problem and creating another. If you climax and you don't feel anything because you're so numb, it's kind of this auto reflex, you're really trading one problem for another.
You're taking away the connection, too.
Take away the connection. That's exactly. And let's face it, isn't intimacy all about connection?
I think so. That is what it's about for me.
Well, if you're younger, I'm old school. So that's a bad phrase that was drilled into me. You're supposed to be connected to your partner. You're not supposed to have sex recreationally. This was taught to me because I'm 68 when I was in school.
Listen, raised in Ireland, Irish Catholic, also raised to believe.
I didn't know your background. Yeah, so I mean, absolutely. So it's one of those things that, and for me at my age, I don't have multiple partners. I don't have multiple relationships at one time. I function best in committed one-on-one relationships, and I love to feel a connection with my partner. I always told people that as a man, one of the messages that I've really been stressing on our website and whenever I do podcasts or interviews is focus on your partner's pleasure. You get the credit of being this attentive lover. You get the credit for being so caring, but at the same time, you're ensuring your own pleasure. Because I can tell you this from experience, that if you are a decent person and you provide and you're emotionally supportive and you have a relationship and that person receives many intense orgasms, they're going to go, I want to make sure he does as well. I don't want that guy going anywhere, okay? It's that simple.
So true. It is so true. You want to return just as much as you're getting.
That's exactly. But you're ensuring the return. You're paying it forward by making sure your partner is satisfied. And we had developed a line of proprietary vibrators, and they're really, really good. And we noticed initially that almost all women were buying them, not as many men. So I started asking a lot of men. They're like, well, I'm a good lover. I don't need a vibrator. And I'm like, hey, moron, this isn't in 1920, okay? This is in addition to, not in place of you being a good lover. Okay?
It's not competition.
It's just in between you and your womanizer, satisfier, vibrator, you know?
Yes.
If your partner gets more intense, the more frequent orgasms due to using a vibrator, then use a vibrator. Because even when you're in a missionary type position, using a vibrator with direct stimulation on the clitoris is a positive thing, because that's generally not stimulated through a lot of different sexual positions. So just helping men get over that stigma that, oh my God, something's wrong with me. Oh my God, my partner has a vibrator, so when I'm not here, she's having better sex with a friend. No. Part of being a good lover is self-exploration, is getting into your own feelings and your own pleasure. And just because your partner, even when you're in a relationship, sometimes masturbates, doesn't mean there's something wrong with your sex with her.
Exactly. And same for bringing a vibrator into the bed with you.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean there's something wrong. But listen, you were touching on something that's super, I know I'm curious about it. I want to go a little bit more on delay cream. Because I think people hear delay cream and the automatic assumption is every delay cream is just going to stop me from feeling anything. What if it rubs off on my partner, then she doesn't feel anything and we're screwed? You know, It doesn't seem worth the risk.
No.
What makes Promescent's delay cream different? Why should I try that as someone who is worried a little bit about delay cream? I don't know if that's going to affect me.
There's two categories when it comes to delay sprays, delay creams, okay, delay wipes. There's Promescent and there's everybody else. And fortunately for us, our founder, who was a urologist, is a genius. So he looked at his options out there. If someone came to see him for ED, he had Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, Stendra, Trimex shots, etc. Someone came to see him for prostate issues, he had many options. Someone came to see him in confidence, he had many options. Someone came to see him because they were ejaculated too quickly. He had these numbing creams, which numbed everybody up, including your partner, and SSRIs, which killed libido. So he said, there's got to be something better. So he went out there, and along with a PhD in organic chemist, they developed Promescent. So essentially what Promescent does, it has lidocaine as its active ingredient. But what it does, it changes the melting point of lidocaine. Okay, there's a formula that we patented. So lidocaine in its native form is a crystal. It's like a grain of salt. So here's your skin. Here's your dermis. It sits on the dermis. It numbs you and it transfers to your partner when you make contact with her if it's on the surface of your skin. So Promescent changes the melting point of lidocaine so where it goes subdermal. So you apply it, you wait 3 to 5 minutes, it goes below the surface.
It happens in 3 to 5 minutes?
Yes. We say 5 to 7 or 7 to 10 just to make sure, because people's body chemistries are different. But within 3 to 5 minutes, trust me, I've used it. It's generally effective. Wait 7 to 10 minutes, it's completely effective. What happens is it goes subdermal, so it's no longer on the surface. So you feel a higher degree of surface sensitivity, but it's in the fatty tissue underneath, which still gives you that control. Because it's underneath, it doesn't transfer to your partner. We've had so many people that use our product and they send us an email and they go, I almost didn't order this because I tried delay sprays in the past and they didn't work. They were not effective. And this really and truly is so different. Oh my God, I'm so glad that, you guys emphasize the non-transference in your advertising, because that's the only reason I did it, because I've tried 3 or 4 in the past and I was so disappointed that they were not effective. That is a differentiating agent. It's that eutectic formula that changes the melting point, which allows the lidocaine to go subdermal.
I freaking love that. I really do, because that would be my hesitation around delay creams of no, I want to feel everything. There's nothing more pleasurable for a woman than to feel every vein, everything.
You be this just open flower, this open book, and absorb everything, as opposed to going, it's even inside of me. Am I having intercourse right now? I'm not. I can't feel anything.
And sometimes that feeling just happens anyway, and it's kind of the worst. You want to be able to, again, feel that connection. That inspires me for sure. Okay, what else can I be doing or using that is going to help make sex more pleasurable, the connection more enjoyable? Like, I specifically want to talk to you and understand Vita Flux.
A very unique product, and I wish I could say I was a genius and I developed it, but I'm going to tell the truth. I went to a Sexual Medicine Society of North American conference. It's where all the top sexual medicine doctors congregate. So this was in San Antonio, I believe, in 2018. So I go to this conference, and one of the very renowned leaders in sexual medicine comes up to me and goes, "Man, you look tired." I go, "I'm exhausted. We're growing. I need to hire a bunch of people. Things are going really, really well." And I go, "I'm just burning the candle at both ends." And he goes, "I developed this product. You should try it." And I go, "What is it?" And it was Vita Flux. And he goes, "Gives you more energy for working out, increases your blood flow, which decreases blood pressure, helps you recover. You'll feel better, more energy." So he gives me this bottle of Vita Flux, and I start taking it. And I go back at the time here to Vegas. I was living full time here. And within a week, my relationship at that point says to me, "Are you taking some kind of ED drug?" I'm like, "No, why?" She goes, "I don't know if you're aware of this." And I was 63 at the time. That was 5 years ago, whatever, maybe 62. She goes, "We've been intimate like 7 straight days." And I'm like, "Well, I haven't exactly been keeping it." I know it's been pretty frequent. I start thinking about it. I go, well, maybe that just waxes and wanes your hormone level, whatever. A week later, it was still the same. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything different. Then I remember thinking to myself, well, the only thing different I'm taking is Vita Flux, but that's for more energy, working out, you know. So I called the doctor, and I'm like, "Hey," he starts laughing. He goes, "I'm a sexual medicine doctor." Of course, I go, "Well, you sold it to me." Well, not sold, but you basically gave it to me under the assumption it was going to be more energy. He goes, "Yeah, but it also increases your erectile capability, you know. It really increases your desire, because when you increase blood flow, it doesn't just go right to your arm or leg, it goes to your entire body. And blood flow to your genitals obviously gives you a higher libido and makes you horny." And I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize that." So one thing led to another, and I kept using it. I started telling some of my friends about it. They start using it. And this is so effective. Vita Flux is so effective in lowering your blood pressure that they were having difficulties selling it as a sexual wellness supplement, because that's the only product they had. And people go, "We don't know you, we don't trust you." But they had broken into the blood pressure reduction area. It increases blood flow, which helps blow plaque out and decrease your blood pressure. So they start selling it almost primarily for reducing blood pressure. So I went to him and said, "Hey, do you mind if we run with this as a sexual wellness supplement?" And he goes, "No, I'd love you to." So we did, and the product immediately took off. So one of my neighbors, who's very renowned, very successful guy, he loves our company, loves our products. So
I bet he does.
he's like, "Hey, what's this Vita Flux I see on the site?" I go, "You want some?" "Yeah, I'll drop some off. So I'll put some in your mailbox," right? So I give him the sample, Vita Flux. A month later, he goes, "Hey, you guys have to help me find something for my wife." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "If I don't find her something," he goes, "I'm going to start hopping on my maid and, you know, like our cook." And he's like, "My libido's through the roof." And my wife, because he's my age. So at the time, he was 62, it was 6 years ago. So I called the doctor. I go, "Hey, one of my very good friends has used the product." I go, "I need something for his wife now." He goes, "Vita Flux." I go, "What?" He goes, "And that's the same effect on women it does on men. It increases blood flow." He goes, "Not only that," he goes, "there's an added benefit." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "There's an epithelial layer that covers all the veins and arteries in our body. And what that epithelial layer is designed to do when we're very young, in our 20s and 30s, is very supple. It allows vitamins, minerals, and hormones to absorb into the bloodstream, and it keeps viruses and bacteria out. As we get into our late 30s, that epithelial layer begins to harden. When it hardens, it gets much better at keeping bad stuff out. It gets also good at keeping good stuff out. So you have less vitamins, minerals, and hormones that absorb. That's why the average male, the average female, after the age of, late 30s, early 40s, every year gains 0.5% of body fat and loses 0.5% of lean muscle tissue.
Oh my!
So,
I just turned 37 late last year.
Yeah, you're a prime candidate to start using Vita Flux.
This is why I'm like 2026 is about like improving sex life, elongating it. It's my favorite thing. Sex.
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
This. So he says also, he said between losing hormones and then starting menopause, a lot of women lose the ability to naturally lubricate. And he said this helps that. It reverses that. Not only that, it gives you more energy, it helps you through workout because your hormones absorb better. It helps you not lose that lean muscle tissue. It helps keep body fat. It's like, oh my God, we have hundreds of women who use female Vita Flux right now for nothing other than the ability to continue to moisturize. We have women that lost that ability that regained it when they started using Vita Flux because of the lack of hormone absorption.
I talk about this, just that feeling of like, I want my body to show how I feel. Like I might feel turned on. And even at 37, I've noticed a drop off.
Yeah. Well, listen to this. So I do this for a living, and I'm very well aware of this happens. And I was dating a gal that was in her late 40s. This was about 3 years ago. And she lost the ability to naturally lubricate. She was starting menopause. And I knew what it was. And I knew exactly from an academic, from an informational point of view, what was happening. And I still got kind of uptight. I still was like, oh, I don't think she's turned on. And I'm like, wait a second, you boob. You know exactly what's going on. You celebrate. But it's so ingrained in us, that, and it's like,
me too, though. If I'm with a man and he might not stay as hard or something. And I also know our egos are programmed to think, what is wrong with me?
What is wrong with me that's causing her to have this reaction?
Yes. Or what is wrong? Like, did I say the wrong thing that is causing him to have this reaction? And both parties are taking it on themselves.
Absolutely.
But there are so many, that's what's killing me. There are so many solutions out there. Are you telling me though that, so like Vita Flux, if this is helpful for blood pressure, is this something everyone can just get? Is this like where I go to the website and I have to get a prescription or something?
No, it's over the counter. It's a supplement. It's L-arginine, L-carnitine, L-citrulline, zinc, and magnesium.
Is there anything as a woman I need to be aware of? Are there adverse effects for... What if I'm on hormone replacement therapy? I mean, I'm not, but like I'm thinking about all.
No, there are no adverse effects because there's no hormones in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something specifically designed to increase blood flow, which decreases blood pressure. The benefits of increased blood flow are lower blood pressure. Everyone wants the lowest possible blood pressure. It means your heart and everything is very healthy. And it helps that epithelial layer. A lot of our employees, a lot of our male employees in their early 30s take it. Just because it helps them in the gym, it helps them recover better from workouts. And even at their age, they're like, I want maximum erectile function.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The first person that comes to me goes, I don't want better erectile function, will be the first. But they will have the title of first person that ever went, I'm not concerned with erectile function.
Okay, you're just like sparking things in me now, right? Of like, okay, what happens in sex? So you mentioned once a day on Vita Flux, right? Like, what about multiple times a day? Did you start wanting it more than once a day? Is there anything that sort of, I don't know, is it like bounce back time? I know men are like time.
When you're talking about bounce back time, you're talking about the refractory index after having sex. How soon can you have sex again?
Okay, I've never in my life called it the refractory index, but yes, let's go with that. Learning something new every moment.
I tell people, this is an analogy that I use, that when a man is in his 20s, early 30s, you're like a machine gun. You're spraying bullets all over the place. They're just flying out. You're not worried about ammo at all. You're not worried about aim because I'll get you with something. You know what I mean? Then a guy gets into his 30s, maybe early 40s, and you become a semi-automatic weapon. You're still firing, but maybe not at random, okay? Then you get into your 40s, early 50s, you're a rifle. You take a shot. You know what I mean? And I tell people, you get into your 60s, you're like a musket. Remember those little... Put a ball down, you put the... Exactly. So I tell people that we have a lot of very young people who use our delay spray and some of our products because, you still don't really have a lot of experience yet and you don't really feel that in touch with your sexuality. And then we have a lot of older people because they're like, hey, I get one shot a night and before my next episode, 3 meals, a workout, a good night's sleep and everything else. So I got to make every shot count. You know what I mean? That kind of.
Yes.
So Vita Flux will give you that option of being more frequently sexual because of that increased blood flow. Number one, the arousal factors there. Number two, when you're having better intimacy, you want it more often.
That is 100% true. Kenny, if you're having good intimacy and you're climaxing or just feeling that connection, it's addictive.
Well, here's another thing that I tell people all the time, and I don't know why people think this is so like breakthrough and so revolutionary, but it's just common sense. I always tell people, because there's this refrain, When I'm not in a relationship, I can't find a relationship. Oh my God, for some reason, no one is really into me. As soon as I meet someone, I'm in a good relationship, suddenly everyone's hitting on me. And like, they think that's like, why is that? It's simple. Because when you're in a good relationship and you're being satisfied, you're satisfying someone else frequently, you are happy, you're giving off this positive vibe, you're walking around, your chest is puffed out, your shoulders are back, you're like, yeah, that world is good. When you're not in a relationship, you're walking around, your shoulders are slumped, you're like, no one wants me, I don't want anyone, I'm like, that's... Who wants a piece of that action? Answer, no one. So that's why when you're having good intimacy, you're in a good relationship, you become much more attracted to potential partners because they're like, I don't know what that guy's on or what that gal's on, but I want a piece of that, because they're just exuding confidence, they're exuding happiness, and they're exuding this feeling of like things are good. And when you're alone and lonely and not satisfied, you're exuding exactly the opposite, like life's not that good.
You're giving that like, oh, I'm looking for someone, I'm looking for something. And that's that desperation. And if you can feel a little more sure in yourself, and whatever it takes to feel more sure in yourself, like you're going to give off a different energy.
It's that same thing. If you go by a restaurant and it's empty, you look in, you go, I'm not eating there. No one's in there. If you go by a restaurant, there's a line out front, you get in the line. There's going to be going on here. There's people waiting for this.
100%. Yes, that is the perfect analogy. But also, it's just sort of like, who do you want to be? The person feeling fulfilled and happy with where they are, or the person who is still in that longing situation? You said something earlier about anxiety and intimacy, right? And how they're at polar opposites. Like, I try to help people with the anxiety, but there are other things, just like you said, if you can find a supplement that's going to help, why not take it? That reduces the anxiety as a byproduct of it because you're no longer worried. You're treating the thing that's causing anxiety for you.
Especially if there are supplements or products that don't have side effects. What is there to risk? The answer is nothing. This could only help you. I use this analogy about people and their prowess, and people and their competence. I always tell people, who's the best free throw shooter? Steph Curry, whatever. If someone say to Steph Curry, you're shooting free throws at 94%, but we can help you go to 94.2, they'd go, absolutely.
Yes.
Best, I want to be better. Who's the best golfer in the world right now? It might be Rory McIlroy, it might be Bryson DeChambeau, whatever. They go, you average 19.4 putts per round. Would you like to average 19.3? Absolutely. I want to be the best. The people that are at the top of their profession truly want to take it to the next level. That's why I laugh when some people are like, no, I'm good. I don't need to try anything. I'm the best lover that ever lived. That to me means you're hiding some kind of insecurity. If you're not open to go, let me take this to another level. Johnny Sins is a big advocate of Promescent. He's done a lot of pre-rolls for us, the porn actor.
Yes, I do.
And what does that tell you when Johnny Sins, who was AVN's Male Porn Star of the Year 2021, 2022, says, I use these products to make me better in bed. Okay?
I mean, I have 20/10 vision. I was like, maybe I should go get laser eye surgery. But in the same way, I'm thinking like, I'm 37. I love my sex life. How do I keep this going? I know we've talked a lot about men, but there's also a lot more research and public knowledge and discourse about menopause, right? Which has made me hyper aware of the fact that my sex life could change and will change as I age.
Yes.
So what can I be doing now to ensure that I don't go through those highs and lows as dramatically as I would if I wasn't taking care of myself now,
One of our board members, Rachel Rubin, she's on our advisory board, is one of the leading advocates for estrogen for menopause. She's been renowned. I'm so proud to be affiliated with her. I see her all over the news now. And women's sexuality had taken a back seat for the longest time. There's all these freaking ads, Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, men last longer. And like, what about women? There's generally, in every heterosexual relationship, there's two people in there. You know what I mean? Like, Can we please make sure that we're addressing both parts of the equation? Can women have a seat at the table and have some focus placed on their sexual wellness, their pleasure?
Amen. That is my gospel. It's about two people, not just one.
Yes.
I had a lot of frustration, like even just on a feminist level around how much focus was put on ED medicine, how much funding Viagra got, how easy it was for people to get that help. And we weren't getting that same level of support on the women's side. And I think that the balance is shifting, especially as we start talking about estrogen and understanding the benefits and how we can lessen the effects of menopause on our sex life specifically.
Yes.
In addition to everything else. So I think knowing and paying more attention to that last year in 2025 is when I really started to pay attention to like people talking about menopause, because there are so many adverse effects for women, but also men in relationships. And I see that with the men who come to me for coaching. They notice their wives are going through changes too. And it's how do you recalibrate your sex life, recalibrate what you're doing. And that healthy eating matters, but there are other things available.
Yes, without a doubt.
What else is Promescent working on right now, if anything?
We have female arousal gels. We have two. We have a buzzing and a warming. One is more subtle. It just warms your labia, your clitoris, and almost like a preparation for intimacy.
When would I use that?
So it's traditionally used about 15 minutes before sex, where you start feeling warmth, you start feeling more blood flow, you start feeling more arousal. Now, that being said, I've done this podcast, I think about 6 or 7 times. There are these two women, it's called Two Wild Orchids. And so I'm doing it, and we have provided them with product over the years. We've been doing it. So the one says to me, guess what I'm wearing? And we're doing this at like noon, West Coast time. And I'm like, well, I could only see it from the waist up because we're at a podcast. Just there right here. And I go, you have a cream-colored blouse and a orange or a navy blazer. She goes, no. Down below, guess what I'm wearing? I go, I have no idea. She goes, Promescent warming gel. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, I find that in the morning, right before I leave, I do a little dab. She goes, it makes me feel warm. And she goes, at lunchtime, I always go in and put another little dab on, maybe 3 in the afternoon. She goes, by the time I come home at night, she goes, I feel like I've had 8 to 10 hours worth of foreplay during the day, and I'm already ready to go. And it just makes me feel warm and desirable all day. And I'm like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And I made a joke, but I wasn't really joking. I was being serious. I go, that's the difference between men and women. Like a woman loves that feeling of being aroused. A woman loves the feeling of like 8 to 10 hours worth of foreplay. You know what I mean? Like just to feel sensual all day. If a guy felt that way, he'd go in the bathroom and rub one out right away and go, I got to get that. Swear to God, that's the first thing I thought of. Between men and women.
We do not feel tortured by it. We feel connected. And I actually work with women on that. I'm like, how do you stay connected to your vagina? How do you stay connected to your pussy all day? Because I think that that connection leads to better connection with others.
Exactly.
And I need to try that.
One of the advice that I always give a lot of our male customers, because we talk all the time, and they'll talk about the lack of desire on their wife's part. And a lot of times they've been married 20 years, and it could be because of estrogen, could be because of menopause. But I always say to a lot of men, did you ever think of during the day sending your significant other a text, hey, can't wait to see you tonight, blah, blah, blah. 8 a.m. in the morning, at lunchtime, oh, now we're only 6 hours away from, having a nice intimate dinner. I go, start setting the mood early. Start with foreplay 8 hours before you're together. If your idea of foreplay is like, brace yourself, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm sending this episode to clients before I have my first session. This literally comes up in so many of my sessions.
Absolutely.
Spot on.
If you're a man, make your woman feel desire, not just prior to intercourse where she thinks she's just getting me ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make it an all-day process. To make it like this delicious meal you're about to have. And you get to sample it all during the day. You have these little things to whet the appetite all during the day. Instead of the first time you interact with someone is when you get home, and even more importantly, when you're in bed, the guy comes home, he's still on the phone. He goes in his own little gym, he's doing his Peloton, then he's like, take a shower, get ready, we're having sex. That kind of thing.
That's not an exaggeration either. As much as we're joking, that is many.
It's not an exaggeration. Absolutely not an exaggeration. I hear it from a lot of couples when they have children, especially young children. It's like the wife is busy with the kids all day. The guy comes home. Oh, you've been at work. Now you have to have the kid go. And then finally put the kid to bed at 10 o'clock. They're both so exhausted. It's like, do we even have time or energy for this? And make time, make energy, and specifically prioritize it. But more importantly, make your partner feel desired, make your partner feel wanted.
And it's both ways. You both need to be making
Both need to be making it happen.
All right. I don't know if you've been asked this question before, but like this is a kink podcast, right? And
Yeah.
I have a question about the warming, doing a dab. Could you do it anally? Is it only for your vagina?
No, it's safe for anal penetration, so I'm assuming it would have the same effect. First time I've ever been asked that question, but
Yes, I gave you a first.
first, right here, absolutely. We have a brand new product. It's called Go Solo. It's men's masturbation cream. And there's a definite trend now, and we're seeing it. We sell a tremendous amount of sex toys, both male and female. And there's a tendency among people, and it started right around COVID, but it hasn't waned, that a lot of people started working from home. Some people will not take a job unless they can work remote. Then they order Grubhub or Uber Eats, and they have meals brought in. They just all their shopping on Amazon.com, and they have all this stuff. They don't even want a sexual partner. There's a whole segment of people that have disassociated or disaffected and don't even want to interact with humans anymore. Their entire life is compartmentalized. It's alone. It's isolated. I think that's why we've seen a rise in mental illness. Almost every time you see some of these violent acts and things that get carried out, a lot of times they're loners. There's a need in our lives for human contact. And there's a certain large percentage of our population is moving into this area that they don't have interaction with anyone or anything. This has happened to me with some of our younger employees where they would be in the same room and then text someone rather than have a conversation. To me, maybe it's because I'm older and that's the way I was raised. Human interaction is nourishment for the soul. Human interaction allows me to expand my horizons, see other people's point of views. And I think that's very important because it's even encroaching on sexuality now, where people work remote, shop remote, have their meals delivered, and don't even want a partner for sex. A lot of urologists told us they're meeting a lot of men who literally are having problems because they have a lot of chafing, because they're masturbating without proper lube. And they're starting to have some callousing and damaging and desensitivity of the nerves because of constant masturbation without using proper lubes or a lube that's meant, because there are lubes that are meant for sex with a partner, you know what I mean? That might be totally different than a masturbatory lube that has to last a little bit longer and has to have a lot less. If you're masturbating, you don't want that totally slippery feeling. You want more of a control. And so we developed this specifically for masturbation, and it's one of our fastest growing products in terms of rate of growth. And we already knew that we had a large number of men who needed the product because of how many male masturbatory devices we were selling.
That's such a good point. And I'm glad there's a rise in sale of male masturbatory products because for so long people thought sex toys were just for women. So I'm glad that that exists, but again, in service of connecting more with someone as opposed to just masturbating. You're developing something that makes it easier for them to use these toys for themselves.
Use these toys correctly. And one of the things that we've really tried to stress is these masturbatory products are not so you spend the rest of your life masturbating. That a lot of times we stress that these male masturbatory products are great products to use if you want to last longer so that you can have more confidence by the time you incorporate it in with a partner. Because in some cases, people feel very uncomfortable saying that a partner, I need to use this and try this to help me last longer. If you can have more of a feeling of control by yourself, then you take that into your relationship. And you don't feel like, hey, you're my partner in a laboratory experiment. That, like I said, I believe that even people in healthy relationships masturbate.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I know some people might view it as cheating and like you talk to your partner about it, but I am such a champion of masturbating in your relationship.
The best women that I have ever had relationships with always masturbate and have a wider range. I remember I dated one gal that had, I think, 35 or 40 vibrators. And I remember she was showing me her collection. I'm like, what is this? Oh, that's the magic wand. To this day, that's still like the number one selling vibrator in the world. and we're one of their authorized sellers because I said, no matter what, I want that vibrator. That's one of the very few non-branded Promescent products we have that I want on our site because for whatever reason, it's the original, but it's never been beat. It's still to this day, it's totally patented.
I love it. So in the kink world, there's this whole thing about like controlled orgasm or not being allowed to come without your partner. And for me, I'm like, no. I said, I promise you, it is better if I'm allowed to come as often as I want to come because it keeps my libido high.
Imagine if you're not allowed to come unless you're with your partner and one of you goes on a 2-week business trip, for God's sake. If someone has surgery and for a month they're laid up, like you're not allowed to orgasm, that's ridiculous. I want my partner to have as many orgasms as possible, as many intense orgasms as possible, because that keeps reminding her how good that feels. And it keeps reminding her of how she wants to have another one, hopefully with me in the picture. I want as many with me in the picture, and by having a few with me out of the picture helps them when I'm in the picture, then so be it.
For me, I know it dies off. The desire dies off in me if I'm not masturbating frequently.
I tell people that when you're having constant, intense orgasms, music sounds better, colors look brighter, food tastes better. I swear to you, it's like music has more depth to it. Oh, is that bass up? Is the treble better? Music sounds more complete to me.
You're connected to your pleasure, so you're ready to receive pleasure in every part of your life. Okay, I have another question about this because I do recommend when people are coming quickly, one of the things is I do talk to them about how often they masturbate. And because I think that there's a little bit of training yourself to come quickly masturbating. So I will say, can you try and elongate the time you're masturbating so you don't come as quickly? Is go solo something that can help people with that?
Yes, because if you masturbate without using a lotion, it can become painful. It can become so you want to get it over with quicker. So one of the things that I think, the advice that we give a lot of our people, we have blogs about this. If you're going to masturbate, treat it almost like a lovemaking session where you really plan for it, you enhance it. I think a lot of people, when they masturbate, still feel a certain amount of shame. It's like, let me get this over with because I feel like less than because I don't have a partner. Don't feel like that. Feel like you're still going to have an orgasm. You want that buildup to be as long as possible because I don't know what it's like for women, but for men, some cases, the longer the buildup, the more intense the actual orgasm. Like if you have an orgasm after a minute of penetration or thrusting, it's not as strong as if you had an orgasm after 20 minutes of penetration and thrusting.
I've heard that for men. I'm multi-orgasmic though, so it can feel the same. Like as long as I'm orgasming, the build-up sensation is different and gives a different vibe, if you will.
That's it. Even tell me, there was one in particular that I'm remembering. She would always say, I want to have my first orgasm tonight through intercourse. And I go, really? She goes, yeah, because if I have the first one orally or manually, then my orgasm through intercourse isn't as intense. But if I have my first orgasm through intercourse, it's much more intense. And I want to have that first really intense one. Then I love to have second, third, fourth ones. I'm like, great.
Wait. The key there is you listened. You did not tell her you knew better. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thing I tell people all the time that I'm a voyeur. I freely admit it. I swear to God, I still feel like every time, the first time I undress a woman, it's like a little kid at Christmas, 6 years old. You wake up, oh my God, I can't wait till I have to see my presents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm kind of juvenile because I love the idea of every woman is different. You know what I mean? And each one, you're going to have a different reaction. That's why when guys go, I'm the greatest lover ever, here's my routine. If that's your feeling, then you're not a good lover because every woman is completely different. So I always say to women early on in a relationship, will you masturbate for me and let me watch? And they're like, right away I know whether someone's uptight. They go, oh my God, no, why would you want to do that? Or someone's like, oh, absolutely. Because I'm like, okay, I'm like a safe cracker. Okay, you can let me sit here and spend 30 days figuring out how exactly to crack this safe, or you can basically show me the combo. When someone's masturbating, they're doing exactly what feels best to them. So I can tell what kind of pressure they like, what area they like. Plus, it's a complete turn on for me. And a lot of women, because a lot of guys are so self-conscious and so offended if a woman suggests something like they're not the greatest lover that ever came down the pike because they've had this negative feedback before that they feel very uncomfortable saying, that doesn't feel right to me because it hurts a man's feelings. I always say to myself, I'm really glad I'm a dude, okay? There's just so many advantages to being a guy. But I've never understood why not every guy thinks I have to be the strongest power lifter. I have to bench press 400 pounds. Not every guy thinks I got to have a vertical leap of 50 inches. You know what I mean? Not every guy goes, I got to be the greatest golfer. When it comes to lovemaking, every guy has to know I'm the best there ever was. And, you know, as a woman, you have to be sexual. You have to be knowledgeable, but not too knowledgeable, not too sexual. You know what I mean?
The double standard.
Double standard.
It's like the George Clooney. It's like, oh, he was single for so long and everyone wanted him and he was like dating around. And
oh, but Jennifer Aniston, what's wrong with her? She can't find a man, you know?
The perfect example, yes.
Yeah, and it's just unfair, but this idea that as a woman, for your partner, you have to be a good lover, but not too good. You can't teach him anything.
I do have clients who see me secretly because they don't want their partners to know they're seeking any help, and I think that's unfair too. There's this idea that you just have to know. You know, no one expects an athlete to just be born an athlete. There's training, they go to coaches, they put so much time and energy.
This goes back 40, 35 years. I dated someone, this was when I was full-time living in Southern California, that literally went to a seminar. There was a woman who was giving seminars in Santa Monica on giving good head. And this was like 35 years ago, so you can imagine. And she was telling me, you know, like, oh yeah, myself and my girlfriends, you know, we saw this, we signed up, and I was like, that's freaking awesome. That's someone who was really focused on her man's pleasure. And someone who's like, I want to be the best I can be at this. And there's like a lot of guys laugh among each other. They'll go, oh yeah, one of the first times we were together, it's like right before she took her hair and put this scrunchie, put her hair up, did all stuff. I go, that's someone who knows that they're getting ready to do some work. And as a guy, you want to be that same type of guy. You really want your woman to feel like you are the center of my universe right now. That I am totally focused on giving you as much pleasure and the most intense orgasm as possible.
And I'm going to tell you, as a woman, that also takes away from any shyness or embarrassment. When I feel the person is excited to be totally focused on me, I am less self-conscious because I don't feel like a lot of women, I'm not alone in this, are thinking about being an inconvenience or feeling weight. Yeah. And if you come in with the energy of they're not treating it as work, but as an exploration, as an exciting thing to try, it changes the mood in the bedroom. Completely.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of women that when you're in a relationship, at first will be, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Don't go down on me, you know, whatever. If there's a guy that ever went, I don't like being blown, it'd be the first one ever. I've never, ever had a friend or in the time I've been working this job ever go, no, I don't like oral sex. Most favorite things ever, doing nothing and having sex. But a lot of times a woman will go, oh, I don't feel comfortable. Don't go down on me. And the first thing I'll say is it because you're self-conscious? Well, yeah, I don't know what it tastes like. I don't know. Maybe there's a smell. Maybe there's this. Maybe there's that. And I said, give me enough credit to go, if there was an issue, I would address it. I'm not going to go down there and be like, oh my God, I can't breathe. You know what I mean? Well, so that's another reason I'm glad I'm a dude. A large percentage of women are very, very self-conscious.
Being vulnerable can be difficult no matter who you are. And everything we're talking about is vulnerability.
When it comes down to it, that breaks up relationships. People who are afraid to be vulnerable, they don't express themselves, they never tell the other person. And I call it layering. Someone doesn't realize that their partner feels vulnerable and feels like they're uncomfortable when their male partner goes down on them. But the male is thinking, oh, maybe they think I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to do this anymore. Then she feels, well, maybe he's not doing it anymore because I do have an odor, I do have a bad taste. And it's layering. No one ever communicates, and you go, well, no, I didn't want you to go down there because maybe it was. And he's like, no, it wasn't. I would be doing it. But the truth never comes out, and you both have these preconceived ideas of why not happening, and it becomes unsatisfactory, and you end up drifting apart.
Yeah, that is the sad truth of it. And the simple thing is just communicate it. But without that, yeah, the layers, anxiety, lack of connection, everything falls under that in these pillars.
Open, honest communication is the fundamental building block of any sexual relationship, but more importantly, any relationship. whether it's father-daughter, father-son, husband-wife. Open, honest communication is crucial.
Jeff, we are beyond time, but it has been wonderful to have you on. And I'm so excited to tell everyone that if you've been interested in this, I have a code for you. If you go to www.promescent, promescent.com/TKC15, you're going to get 15% off. You'll have that link in the show notes. I would encourage everyone to check out the website. There is something there for you. And I cannot wait to report back on my own journey with Vita Flux.
I'm looking forward to it.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.